Hello and welcome to Tuesday's second edition of Cracking the Cryptic. Very unusually, we're going to do two Sudoku videos today, and the reason is that we've been lucky enough to get hold of two puzzles that appeared in the World Sudoku Championship yesterday. So earlier on today, I solved the killer Sudoku that Christoph Seeliger compiled for the competition, and today, this video, I'm going to have a look at the Thermo Sudoku from yesterday's competition, also by Christoph. Now, this puzzle Christoph thought would take the world's best solvers around 4 minutes to solve. Okay, so this should be extremely easy. And those of you who've been worrying that Mark's videos on the World Sudoku Championship have proved quite simple so far when he's been going through the instruction booklet, yeah, well, 4 minutes is your target. Now, if you do want to have a go, click on the link under the video, and that'll take you to our software and you can try the puzzle. I've been having a look at the results actually from the first day. As always, there are some incredible feats of solving, but the one that caught my eye was from the young Chinese solver Lishan Ming, who in the first round, which is a round of classic Sudokus, that's 9 classic Sudokus they have to do in 25 minutes. Okay, so it's an extremely tough event in terms of timing. I mean, even if these were easy Sudokus, doing 9 of them in 25 minutes isn't actually that easy. But these are not easy puzzles. To give you an idea of the standard, I noted that David McNeil, who is one of the cleverest people I've ever met and one of the finest Sudoku solvers you could find in the world, he's the current UK sort of #1. He solved 6 of the puzzles within the 25 minutes, so these are not straightforward. But Li Shenming, well, did all of the puzzles within the 25 minutes, and in fact in under 17 minutes. How on earth do you do that? I mean, that is quite staggering to me. The standard of Sudoku solving at the top of the world game is absolutely mind-breaking. So, fantastic, and I think China have got a real star, well, a star for the present, but clearly a star for the future as well on their hands there. So that's enough from me in terms of anecdotes. Let's actually do some solving. Now this is a thermometer Sudoku, so just a reminder of how Thermo Sudokus work. You can see that the grid has these thermometer shapes in it. Now, along a thermometer, digits must strictly increase from the bulb end. So the bulb end needs to be the lowest number along the thermometer, and the other end of the thermometer must be the highest number that appears. And you can see that Christoph rather cleverly has created WSC, i.e. World Sudoku Championship, and the number 14 using thermometers. Now I think 14 is because this is the 14th playing of the World Sudoku Championship this year. Obviously, Sudoku is a relatively new game, and I think this is this championship, as I say, is the 14th hosting. Now, let's have a look at how we would do this puzzle. My eyes are drawn to the 5 in the middle because this 5 consumes every single square of this box. So if we know that numbers must increase along the thermometer, you don't have to be a World Sudoku Championship competitor to know that that is going to be the shape of the 1s. And right, okay, and this is going to be a given. This 1 here, you can see it rules out 1s from those squares in this bottom box. So if we know that the 1 is on the thermometer, then it must be there, because we know it's the lowest number on the thermometer. We do the same thing with this 1 here. The 1 has to be on the thermometer, so it must be at that end. And similarly down here, the 1 is now in one of those 3 squares, so it must be the lowest. It must be the bulb end of the thermometer. So we're getting a bit of traction with 1s. Can we keep that going? Maybe not. No, I'm not sure. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the minimum value of this square is 7. I quite like noting that actually along thermometers, is to work out what the top number can be. So here again we've got 7, 8 and 9 because we can see that because 7 of the cells are consumed by the thermometer there. And then here the 4 is an interesting shape because it sort of branches at this point. So if this square was a 6, for example, then this would have to be bigger than a 6, and this would have to be bigger than a 6. And you can see, actually, it's interesting. This can never be an 8, this square, obviously, because that would give a repeated 9. 7 would have to be 8, and no, 7 doesn't work either. If this was a 7, that would force 8 here and 9 here, but look, 2 9s like that isn't going to work, because that's going to put a 9 in the middle of a thermometer, which is not right. So this can't be 7. So that could be 6. That's the absolute maximum that can be. And look, 3, 2 and 1 along there. So the minimum value for this square is 4. It cannot be less than 4. And if that can't be less than 4 and that can't be bigger than 6, that is a 4, 5, 6 triple. Wow. I think that's right. That is... Now you can see all sorts of things going on. So firstly we've got 7, 8 and 9 into those squares. We've got 4, 5s and 6s there, so that's got to be 4, 5 and 6 down here. These two squares must be 2 and 3. These two squares must be 7 and 8, and this must be a 1, 2 and 3 triple. Right, okay. So this can still be 1 or 2, and this can be 2 or 3. And this square, well, actually, what I said about the 9s is interesting. Like, there can't be a 9 in either of these two squares either, because that's going to give the same problem on this thermometer. So the 9s can't be in any of those squares, or those two. So I should have got that quicker. That can be a 9. That, well, not only can it be a 9, it must be a 9. This square here now must be a 7 or an 8, which means this square down at the bottom can't be a 7 or an 8, so that's a 9. Now, can we go any further now? Yes, we can. Now the 9 cannot be on the, because this is a 7 or an 8 here, the 9 is not on the thermometer in this box. And it's not here because of the 9 there, so it must be there. That one's not a 9 anymore. Again, we can do a similar trick. This is a beautifully designed puzzle. I mean, Christoph's puzzles are really, really clever. I've got another one actually to show you, not from the World Championship, but another killer Sudoku he sent me, which is just stunning. So now we can't have 9s along the middle of thermometers. We can't have 9s here because of that 9. So the 9 over here is locked into one of those two squares. And that means this square is not a 9, so this is a 9. This is 7 or an 8 now. And this is quite cool, isn't it? Because if we look at this column, you can see that because this square can only be a 4, 5 or a 6, we can't put 7s and 8s below it. Therefore, there must be a 7 and an 8 in those three squares. Well, it's not possible, therefore, for this top one to be a 7. That's going to have to be an 8, and that's going to have to be a 7. Which is, that's really quite lovely as well. Now, can we go, what else can we see about this? This 3 is interesting now. If this can't be a 3. So 4, 5, 6, 7. So this can't be a 4. So this is in fact a 2. That's the absolute, well, it's forced to be a 2. And now that's a 3 and that's a 2. So this minimum value of this square is 4, 5. So in fact this is 4, 5 and 6 like that. And that's a 3. Goodness me. And I've just noticed down this column we've got 1, 1, 2, 3 triple and a 4 there as well. So this square This square here on this thermometer, then must be 5 or greater. 5, 6, so it is 5, because that just gives us enough room to put the 5, 6, 7 and 8 before the 9 that we've already locked in. Now this square is an 8, this is a 7, therefore this is an 8. This must be 2, 3 and 4, but I don't think we know quite how that's going to look. Obviously this square can still be any of those. 2, 3. We need to put a 5 in this column, and there's a 5 over there, so the only square a 5 can go into is that one. 5's into one of these two squares. This is a 9 by normal Sudoku rules, i.e. these 9s interacting. So now this is a 9 and this is a 9. Okay, so we've done the, I think we've done the 9s. 8s now, force an 8 here. You can see the moment I place this 8, I'm going to be able to write the 1 and the 5 in, just unwinding pencil marks. Put a few more pencil marks in there. Still need, what is it going to be, 2, 3 and 7 along here. So that has to be a 7, I think, because there's already a 2 and a 3 there. So that's a 7, and this is a 2 or a 3. Therefore this must be a 1, because it can't be a 2 anymore. You can see you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple down here. I think that looks right, doesn't it? So that implies these two squares are 6 and 7, which we can resolve. 6, 7, this must be a 4. This is not 4 anymore. And these two squares, these squares, if I could untangle my tongue, would be 2, 4 and 6. That one's not a 2, that one's not a 4, and that one's not a 6. So, I mean, it's a beautiful puzzle, this, but how do you do it so quickly? 3's here, so there's a 3 along this thermometer, and there's a 2 in the column, so the 3 must be in the lowest position. So now this can't be a 4 anymore, obviously, because, in fact there's a 5 there as well, so this must be a 4, therefore, that's not a 4 either. Whoops, that's not a 4, this must be a 4. 4 into one of those two squares. This is a 5 now, you can see just to complete the column. So this is 6, 7 or 8. This 4 resolves the order of the 4 and the 6 there. I feel like I'm missing a trick there with that 6, 7 and 8. I'm sure I can do better than that, but I'm not quite seeing how to do it. 2 in one of these two squares, 2, 3 here. Is this resolved? No. This 3 resolves everything. You see this 3? That's really cunning. It's the only way of opening up this whole of the right side of the grid. So 2 and 3 there, that means 3 and 2 here. This now must be a 1, 3 and 2. I think we've done almost all of the thermometer logic now. So it's just going to be a case of, you can see these 3's now dotted around the grid. Are going to allow us to place a 3 in that square. So that's a 3, that's a 4, 6, 2 and 4 at the top. We need a 2 into one of those squares, so that's going to have to be that way round. 8 into one of those squares. These squares are 5, 6 and 7. So let's do some highlighting there. That's a 7 into one of those, a 6 into one of those. 7 or 8. So this square is a 7 or an 8, look. Matching this one. So this square is a 5, which I could have got earlier but was being slow, which is why I am not at the World Sudoku Championship. Some of you ask about that. I mean, My logic is reasonably good, but unfortunately I just don't have the raw speed in order to compete at that sort of level. So my little old brain doesn't work fast enough, much to my frustration. And that's how to do that puzzle. Absolutely beautiful as always. And do let me know in the comments what you think of these puzzles. I hope that they're a suitable step up from the instruction booklet. If you enjoy the content and you aren't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. We really appreciate it. I'm back soon with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.